Copper's getting some major features and brand new changes, and I figured today with Toycat, I'd do an ultimate guide over everything or everything major coming inside this one drop. From copper to shelves to pretty much anything else in between. And I pretty much know what I want to do, but I'll be honest, I am cheating a little bit than what I normally do. And that's by grabbing one of these little puppies and importing just a little something from Cosmic because, yeah, this thing I did have like at the very center of like one of my previous bases, and I figured I could bring this over to one of these Ultimate Guide worlds, modify it to actually be used for an Ultimate Guide world, and save me a whole bunch of time. And no, this isn't me being lazy or anything like that. This is me being smart and using the resources I already have. But I did not mean to grab the bottom part of this hourglass. We gotta get rid of this thing. Oh, I forgot all this stuff. I forgot that all this stuff is here. I completely forgot how messy it was under here. If I do this, then that should solve it mostly. Perfect. And right at the very top, I am going to build like a pretty large copper golem at the very top, but we'll get to that when we get to that, because first things first, we need to start from, well, the start, while continuing to find some random stuff I never knew about. Let's maybe start from this side, potentially. Because what I want to do with this is kind of like go in and out of this entire landmass. Because obviously the main focus of this update is related around copper and things like that. So I think it'd only be appropriate just going in and out, showing like all the ins and outs of what you can do with copper and stuff. At least at the start. Maybe later on we'll just stay outside, but at least right now I do want to have like the first leg of this guide to be through here. And I don't know why I'm mining through this with my fist when TNT is definitely a thing that could help me. Okay, made it. And there should be enough room going through here to actually show off like everything you can do with like say the new copper tools and armor and things like that. On top of maybe right in here showing off like every single thing you can find inside this new drop. You know, I kind of knew there was a lot of things coming inside this drop, but now that I'm looking at all of it at once, it's like, yeah, this is quite a biggie. So let's maybe just rework some. I forgot the copper stuff. Well, I didn't forget the copper stuff, but I forgot the copper tools and armor. There we go, much better. And yeah, a lot of this is retextured stuff, but if you ignore that, that's like 70 different features or something like that on this wall. And it's not even including like the dye changes and stuff. Like there's quite a few things inside this drop. No wonder why we want to do an ultimate guide. But now we can actually move on to the ultimate guide parts of this entire guide world by starting off probably with the armor and the tools and stuff. And I think I have a pretty simple idea as to how we could show all this armor and tools and stuff by literally just putting it on an armor stand. Like, not much of a surprise here. Greater durability than chainmail, but same level of protection. That makes sense. And something else that'll make sense is the crafting recipe, which is exactly the same as any other type of armor. There's not much else to say about this, so I guess we can move on to the tools now. And again, all this makes sense. We just need to add just a few ores around the place. Maybe just enough to like block the way, just to make it obvious that you do need to mine through here or something. Yeah, probably something like that is fine. And I guess since we're here, we might as well talk about the copper nugget, because a lot of the tools and stuff is focused around like how you can use it to get the nuggets and stuff. Just put this here. Smelt unwanted copper gear to get a copper nugget. That makes sense. Actually, I'm just curious. Can you do this? Okay, you can't do it with the copper golem. That would have been a little bit cruel, I'll be honest. But you can do it with this, which is good. Actually, there's one thing I want to try doing real quick. That's to see if I can get a zombie to wear some copper armor, because I think they can. You are going to be very pesky, but I'll come back to you later. For now, let's just really quickly finish up the copper nugget stuff, and then we can move on to other things, such as showing this recipe with the nuggets, and I think we can move on to the copper chains now, because that is kind of linked onto the nugget. Alright, just because I did steal this thing from a cosmic season doesn't mean I'm gonna have to do more terraforming on it myself, which is what I decided to do for a little bit of time. Okay, I didn't do it all the way up, but I did do it just enough to get quite a lot more of this done, because honestly, I have no idea how much more space I'm gonna need. Maybe I'll need a little bit more, maybe I'll need a lot more. I just think it'd be best to not build up an entire path only to realize I need like 2% of that or something like that. But now we can move on to what you can use with the copper nugget. This there, and this there, and there's the copper chain. Perfect. And I could place them all out at once, but again, they'd oxidize, and I don't think I'd want that to happen. Copper chains come in 8 different variants: the unwaxed one and the wax one. And yeah, this is probably common knowledge with copper, but I still think it's worth mentioning here. But I think the next thing is probably the lamps and the torches then. And is that it? Is that literally all I have to do for the torches? Probably, but I'm curious. Ooh, you can use charcoal. Might want to mention that here. I actually just thought, what am I doing? I could just do this. Now, nothing will oxidize, nothing will change, everything will be as it needs to be. But now it's time to show actually how you make the lanterns. Perfect. I guess now we could actually just place them all out in one place now. And now we actually have a way in showing that no matter how oxidized they are, they'll still show the same amount of light. Maybe I could do something more than this, but I think generally this is okay. Now, what we could do is go through this mountain, show off the copper bars, and then go out and actually do the copper golem. Why do I want to go through the mountain to do that? No reason, I just think it'd be fun. Nice. And something I completely forgot to show off is the copper horse armor. And at the same time, I kind of want to do something other than just hanging the copper lantern, so maybe I should do that real quick. Or actually, it's fine. Let's get the copper horse armor out of the way. Even I don't know much about it. I've not really paid attention to that part of the update. So as it turns out, these things can't be crafted. They can only be found in like any other type of place you can find horse armor. You find them in all these different structures and things like that, but the most common place you can find them is actually in one of these monster rooms with a 19.4% chance. So if you want to find some copper horse armor, then this is definitely going to be the place to do it. And while it's not like going to be incredibly better, it does like still only have about 4 armor points. It's still at least something. It's still something in the case you want to get like a full armor set or something like that. Anyways, now that I remembered to do that, let's actually move on to the next area, which is probably going to be the copper bars, right after I mine out more of this path. And I think with that, we're pretty much connected all the way to the top. So hopefully this will be enough space. If not, yeah, we'll figure that out when we get there. All right, copper bars should be pretty simple to do, all things considered. Not too complicated, pretty straightforward, other than the fact that I did have to mention that the copper trapdoor recipe got changed a little bit. But other than that, we can move on to the next thing, which is probably going to be the lightning rods, which I'll be honest is probably going to be very similar to what we did down there. Yeah, simple, straightforward. We can move on to the next thing, which might be kind of difficult considering there is a lot of things to do with the copper golem, a lot of things to do with the copper chest, and still all the shelves we're gonna have to cover. We don't necessarily have a huge amount of space left, so we might have to loop ourselves around somehow. Maybe this way, and then loop ourselves back here, maybe? And this is what I get for trying to mark things out like as is before just actually figuring things out. Oh, hello there. Thought I cleared this entire thing out, but I guess not. Oh, the flaws of reusing old builds and things like that, huh? But there already is a lot of open space in here, so maybe this will be a blessing in disguise. Maybe it will be. Okay, got it cleared out, got a decent path going around, and I think this will be enough room. And now we just got to build up this path by making it look like a cave and connecting it onto the rest of the path. And now that we have all this extra space, we should be able to fill in the copper golem and everything else inside this one update. Now I could either pipe a hopper into where our copper chest will be, or I could do something else. Actually, I have an idea. And that idea just involves 2 different command blocks just sitting itself literally right here. Like, that's literally the easiest way I could have done it. And it worked. Okay. And then I think it'll make sense, like when he gets the cobblestone, he puts it inside of there. And then what I'm considering doing is maybe having like a double door going inside of here, because copper golems can, in fact, open up doors. A door which will probably just lead into a small storage room or something like that. Yeah, I think something like this will make sense. Copper golem gets spawned in. Toycat puts a stack of cobblestone in there, comes over here, opens the door, which is what a copper golem can actually do, finds where the cobblestone chest is, puts the cobblestone in here, and I think it just rinse and repeats over and over again. I also did show off how you can actually create the copper chest because, you know, obviously we are going to have to know that. And I guess really quickly, we might as well show off every single one of the copper chests too then. And I think surprisingly, the only thing left with the copper golem is like the copper statue. Is that literally it? As far as I know, yeah. That's kind of insane, but okay, that's fine. We'll just again be doing something fairly similar to what we've already been doing. Placing all the variants in one particular place. But then where we could have a little fun is with all the positions copper golems can actually give. And how many many are there? There's this one, there's this one, this one, this one. So just 4. I could do 4. Maybe right here should work. And then I think all we have to do is just mention how to, you know, bring this thing back to life. And as far as I know, that's pretty much it when it comes to the copper golem. I think. Again, I'm sort of half panicking that I forgot something, but I'm pretty sure that's it. I might leave just a smidge of space just in case I forgot something, but generally, I think we can move on to just some of the other, like, broad general changes and features inside this one update. One of which that comes to mind is all these new dye textures. Then the other one, of course, is gonna be the shelf block. Here's the crafting recipe, here's all the shelf variants, and now on to the fun stuff with, like, the redstone shelf stuff, and then with, like, swapping items from your hotbar. Like, this is a cool block. This is a really cool block. And I guess just for fun, we might as well just put all these little copper golem guys down there. But then really quickly, I've never really tried this before, but I think you power it. Oh, you can. Okay. So if it's unpowered, and then I put all this stuff inside of here, and then I say I get rid of it, I power that on, and then I pick it all up. Oh, that's so cool. That is so cool. So if I do this, and then say I get just like, I don't know, some general items I could put inside of here. Something like this, and then when I power all of these, then I could just select it all, and they're all up here. Then I can put it all back. I love this so much. Why haven't I played with this yet? What if I already have just like something in my inventory like this one sign? If I, okay. I know people know about this stuff like already, but man, it's so cool when I find it out my first time. And I think that's pretty much the bulk of this update. So now what we need to do is some of the fun stuff, being the decoration and the ending bit. And of course, I have to build a giant copper golem statue in here. It's almost the rule. It's almost the rule that I have to do that. Oh yeah, that looks really good. Maybe I could have done more, but I think that gets the point across. The rest of this area is going to need some serious touch-up, though, if I want to get this thing completely done. So that's exactly what I decided to do, using many of the new copper items and copper blocks and things like that around the very end of this entire guide world, as well as around the outskirts, doing just a few other extra little touches here and there. And I think for the most part, the entire guide world is pretty much fully and entirely done. I had no idea what to call this entire copper guy, so I just did this with the copper golem holding out copper chains and copper signs. I also put around some of the losing mob votes around the place, such as say with like a tough golem or like say with a rascal, but mainly built out of copper because obviously, again, this update is mainly focused around copper stuff, so I decided to put 1 or 2 of these things around the place. And I think generally speaking, for the most part, this is the guide world. One other thing I did change, like Mylene here, showing up all the current copper features and then comparing it to like all the new copper features. But generally, that's pretty much this copper guide world. And who knew you could get so much use out of already existing builds and things like that. But yeah, for now, thanks for watching. Oh, left that there. I'm sure it'll be fine.